Welcome to Swiss Holistic Institute, inviting you to this video podcast series on Spiritual Elderhood with Bob Weathers and Thomas Rüedi. Today's issue is the world's urgency of new worldviews. Welcome everybody to our regular sessions within Spiritual Elderhood, and welcome Bob Weathers on the other side of the pond, as we said, since we have been in the last 2 or 3 podcast videos, we have been deeply into the issue coming out of this book, Indigenous Sustainable Wisdom, about wisdom on global flourishing, and then indigenous science compared to Western science. The issue today is continuing with this very fascinating indigenous backgrounds, and so on one hand we will introduce to you, or my dear friend Bob is going to introduce to everybody the 2 projects that some very interesting personalities, like half indigenous but very well deeply connected into indigenousness, but also trained in Western sciences. They brought up some two methods or 2 projects to come close to this in these times today, also not forgetting the traditional background they have. And the third part will be during I have read about all these very fascinating approaches of these personalities. I felt like I need to work out my own worldview, because this worldview, indigenous worldview, and as I say, holistic worldview, will be the issue of today. So I would like to introduce a little bit, or to bring into the discussion what is. I mean, there is a huge overlap, of these both worldviews, but there are some distinct differences also. And this might be interesting to discuss about, So, Bob, please, I'm handing you the mic.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that introduction, Thomas. I'm very eager to, as I mentioned earlier when we were speaking personally, really eager to learn more, learn from you. It's very meaningful to me, this deepening that we've done beyond the book you just mentioned into other resources. And I want to mention a couple of the resources here online. I'm going to actually be looking at them. I'm going to bring them up on my screen. I don't think I want to, I'm just going to, give me just a second here. One of these is by the individual who goes by the name of 4 Arrows. His native name, I just want to say it because it feels so good to say this name, is Wahinkpa Topa. which translates as four arrows into contemporary American English. I want to recommend it to all of our viewers. You can follow this later, or even as I'm presenting it. He has what's called the Worldview Literacy Project. And Thomas, you're the one who introduced me to this, and I read this material with great interest. And I actually want to read. I can't do any better than an introduction that's right here on the very first page of this. If the readers want to look up Worldview Literacy, one word, .org, they'll find a tremendous amount of resources, and I'll mention more about those resources in just a moment. But here's what is the introduction here by Four Arrows. He wants us to notice how our beliefs show up in everyday systems. I'm reading right from the website. In everyday systems such as education, economics, religion, science, media. I think I would add politics. With the skills that he's proposing here, he and his associate, who I'll introduce in just a minute, they refer to them as worldview literacy skills. He says, we learn how our dominant Western human separatist, he actually puts those words together, human separatist, that we're separating ourselves as humans from one another and from the environment we live in. That dominant worldview is a driver of this list. Is really important to make note of because it will get us all, I think, it'll wake us up into being interested. It certainly did me, Thomas. Is a driver of climate disruption, pandemics, and extinction, social degradation, mental illness. Thomas, as you know, my background's in clinical psychology, so I perked up with that for sure and definitely understand the implications regarding mental health versus mental illness. And he goes on to say, and it presents the indigenous, nature-based kinship worldview to which you referred earlier, and you're going to be going deeper into this, including in your own work, Thomas. The indigenous, nature-based kinship worldview. So rather than a human separatist that we're separate, the focus is on kinship. That worldview as the antidote and the most urgent course of action for rebalancing life on the entire planet. That's a beautiful introduction, and I want to recommend that you all go to this website and reread what I've just shared with you. I also want to recommend that you do something that I did, and Thomas, I found this really meaningful. There are a number of resources that are listed right here on the first page, including a book that I'll say more about in just a moment. But I was particularly touched. I downloaded the Worldview chart. It's a free copy. You can download it. And the way this chart goes is on one side, it's got this kinship worldview that's being propounded here. It's got 50 different elements of this worldview, and is contrasted with what Four Arrows calls the human separatist worldview, with those same 50 on the other side. So they're listed right next to each other. And I read down through the entire left side, which was what he's proposing. And then I went back and I read down the right side, and then I read them together. And it's really, you can get a very quick education by reading this worldview chart. I highly recommend it, and it's freely available. It's also provided in Spanish and German, so it's available across languages. And I just felt like that's a really important foundation. So that's Four Arrows and the Worldview Literacy Project. Let me take just a moment to introduce the second resource that's tied into the book that Thomas mentioned earlier, which is co-authored by this author. This website is the website. The title of it is Restoring the Kinship Worldview, and it may be found under Nested World. That's one word, nestedworld.org. And if you do / Restoring the Kinship Worldview, you'll be looking at the very same page that I'm looking at, that I'm going to read just a very brief excerpt from. There's a book attached to this, which I plan to download and read as soon as I've got some writing projects, as Thomas knows, that I'm involved in right now. I'm very interested in this. I just need to set aside the time to be able to read. The book is titled Restoring the Worldship, the Kinship Worldview. And that book is written by Wahinkpa Topa, Four Arrows, and the other author who's been so important in what you've introduced me to, Tomas. Her name is Darcia Narvaez. And she's just what you just said. She's trained in the Western academic tradition and deeply rooted, as is Four Arrows, in native traditions that provide this kinship worldview. I just want to read one paragraph off of this website, the Kinship Worldview website, and then recommend that you all go to this. By the way, she also lists that chart that I mentioned from the previous website. She also makes that available on this website. It's the seedbed of training that they're doing. They have all kinds of training opportunities, and you can read about these online as well. Here's what she says. I really appreciate this. I'm just going to read one paragraph. The entire piece is so beautifully written. And this is from the book, Restoring the Kinship Worldview. The notion of a good life that most indigenous peoples share is deeply relational. The relationship to the land with all its interconnected human and non-human inhabitants, beautifully said, it constitutes their collective self-understanding as community. Livelihoods, sovereignty is an essential condition to keep this bond. These contributions of nature to notions of a good life may be under threat. I would say most definitely are under threat, as access to nature or key components of nature are lost. She goes on to talk about consumption patterns and the fundamental driver of materialism. I'll leave that for you to read. But all of this is in the spirit of wanting to set up, Tomas, where you want to go with this material and your own material. And I'll be here as discussant. I'm really all ears. I'm taking notes.
All right, thank you. This is nice. I mean, as you have seen, it's such a huge amount of literature and videos and issues, separate issues that somehow flow together in the end. I mean, you can see there has been years or decades of work behind, and so it's first of all it's very fascinating to see this work and to try to understand at least the general meanings and yeah. So the third component I would like to add here is working with these materials, and I had a great pleasure to have direct contact to these two authors by email, and as far as their resources can do it, because I'm sure there's so there have been lots of projects and things going on, so I appreciate very much they still take their times, and I think this is part of this kind of philosophy, this kind of lifestyle, that they take the time and write back and try to give some support. And along with this time, I was studying this, and I was also getting some additional information from them, and at the background of my own work that is also for some years going on, and came out into 4 books now. I felt there is the basic of this lifestyle is is definitely incredible, rich, and yeah, as it is written in the Sustainable Wisdom, Indigenous Sustainable Wisdom book, it says it even might be helpful to save the world. I mean, just because it's such a different view and such a related and kinship view that is it's so different. One thing that we have been talking about a lot in these last years already, and in these videos. This is the 10th video we do now.
That's great. Wonderful.
Is about elderhood,
Yeah.
As you remember, elderhood is a big issue for me when I was researching this. Is a big issue in indigenous nations and cultures, and what I am a little bit surprised is to find within these projects not specifically mentioning the role of elders. And I mean, of course, I've written a book about elderhood, and I'm a glooming, friend of elderhood development, and so that's what I felt I would like to add to these. And so the idea came to say, all right, so I write my own holistic worldview, and this is I was working on this like 1 week or 10 days already. And every day it adds on something, and yeah, and I can see that apart from the great part that really overlaps or merge, completely, and there's nothing to, I could nothing add to what they have been writing about and telling about in there's still some issues like I mean, that we have been talking about this many times, and especially in these days and in these months, United States is in a quite obviously quite difficult and hardly to understand state of an administration going on, and that is saying America first and everything. And what I was a little bit surprised also is when I was researching the co-authors with the book you have mentioned, Kinship Worldview. They're all coming from how they say from Turtle Island. This is North America plus the tail of the turtle is Mexico.
Yes.
And so I was writing them back. Yes, I would be very interested to hear if there is any contact to other indigenous nations in Africa, in Asia, in Australia, in Oceania, in Europe. And
Yes.
As far as I understood, there haven't been too many. I mean, it's a huge. It's a huge thing. Only to do this in Turtle Island, yes, I believe. But together, I mean, close to this American first stuff, that is going on. You have then another book, another movement coming from Turtle Island saying it's for Europeans, it's a little bit a problem. It's saying, one time is U.S., one time is Turtle Island, saying this is how indigenous worldview looks like. And this is something I brought into my own holistic worldview, saying, as good as there are these very impressive informations, there might be completely comparable or informations, or even they might match very much, too, from Aborigines or from Maoris or from, I don't know, from all these other or Africans, and of course this will be another issue to work, to get in contact and so I thought what I feel like being holistic is to work out things that they might be as good as I can see and experience and understand for the whole world. The same background of the global flourishing. This is I think global flourishing. This is for me. This is the main the giant issue that is so different from our Western. So I mean, to tell it a little bit nasty, saying the Westerners most give a shit about what others do, the American first, or Hungary first, and and these and so there's this huge difference, and I think it's good to have this on the global map, So there's some of these issues. One last issue is about how gender things or relationships of sexes living together are understood differently.
Yes.
And it's another huge issue. Will definitely not to be covered here. So I think it's good to go over to the exchange and to see what we can hold next to each other, or what does touch us, or what is this moving us, or where there is something that there might be, how is this going, so yes, please.
I really appreciate, first of all, your affirmation of the work and your correspondence with these two individuals who've been such pioneers. Really appreciate your sharing that with us. It's very meaningful to me, having read most of that first book that you mentioned on sustainable indigenous worldview. I also really appreciate what you add to the mix. I'll tell you what I was doing as I was listening to you. I was looking at 3 of the 4 books to your immediate right, and I was thinking how each 3 of those, and then you began to speak about them, each one of those books addresses something that probably is touched on, if at all, in the map or in the model. And so, and you began to speak of them. Your emphasis on their elderhood is not that they don't discuss it, but they don't go into detail, as far as I know. I mean, you've studied it much more deeply, whereas you have. And so to bring in something that is intrinsic to the indigenous worldviews, which is huge respect for elders, to bring that to the forefront would be a real contribution. I really see it, and you've already made such a contribution yourself about that. So it seems like a natural wedding. That's one of them. The next one that came to my mind, I was looking over your shoulder at the book on masculinity, on being a male, on what does it look like to be a man, in this indigenous sense of it. And then you began speaking about the bravado, the buffoonery of our current administration in the U.S., America first, and all of that. And you know that I'm in spirit joined with you. It's such a distortion or a perversion of manhood, and it's framed as to be a man is to be this way, and it really equates to being a man is to be an ass, it seems like to me. And your book is a corrective to that. And then you mentioned that there needs to be there needs to be a different image of the relationship of the sexes or of the genders, and all of that would be really richly understood. I know that in the map and in the materials I read, they emphasize much more an acknowledgement of the feminine, but what would it look like to integrate the feminine with the masculine in some other vision than what we have right now in our current administration, which is really does feel perverse to me. So that's the second thing that came to my mind, which you addressed. And the third one, I'm looking at your book on 3 steps into oneness, is that the U.S., I'll just speak of the U.S., is so caught in a dualism right now, where it's the forces of good against the forces of evil, and we all know who the forces of evil are, and we're going to send them back to the Stone Age. That rhetoric is so imbecilic to me. It's so pathetic. It makes me shudder with embarrassment and pain and distress. That said, your book on non-duality, on oneness, it would draw together not only beyond that kind of split, but what you just said around, why do we privilege Turtle Island or for that matter, Europe and America? Why not integrate the best of Africa, the best of Oceania, of Australia, of Asia, all that you mentioned, I totally resonate with. And it may just be because in this lifetime, those 2 authors and their tradition, they only have so much time to give. So I'm not going to hold that against them. I even had the fantasies you were speaking. I'm hoping, I would hope this is the case, that there are international forums in which they're interacting with brothers and sisters across the globe that would bring in the value of an Aboriginal worldview, of a Maori worldview, and so on. I would hope that's happening. But if it isn't, you're uniquely poised to discuss that because of your own deep connection to the African subcontinent, but also just to your view of a holistic worldview that you've talked about in all of your writings, which is not separating things out into higher and lower and better or worse or white and black, all of that. You're about oneness. And I think that would be another huge contribution, including the Eurocentric or the American-centric bias, let's say, that may be in these websites or maybe in the research that's been done. I don't know, because I'm not steeped in the research, but I know you, and I know you can contribute to that. So whether it's gender or the value of elderhood or the value of a truly international or global flourishing model, I feel like that you've already done so much work, and I know you to know that you will do a deep dive and are doing that as you begin writing. I have a hunch those authors you mentioned will want to correspond with you. They want to write you because of what you're doing. You'll be adding to it, there's no doubt. And I say that bowing to you, Thomas, because the rigor of your mind and of your commitment of your heart is so apparent in all 4 books you've written and every conversation that we've had. And so I'm eager to see what comes of this moving forward for sure. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. It's almost a little bit embarrassing, but yes, I have been all my life. I have been very how you say, interested and a very someone who is fascinated for something and going deep. This is the same when I went, how I say, with Tibetan Buddhism. I was there like 24 years. I was really, I'm not the one, or in men's work, another 20 years. So it's always, I'm trying to go to the essentials and to work out some essentials, and
Yeah.
yeah, and this is what I try today in a, I mean, in a world that is really upside down, and in a world that, at least the Western world, is completely, how I say, mad, in some way, and I'm saying that this is some kind of a totalitarian bubble going on in my latest book project, saying, from the beginning of the civilizations, of the European civilizations, there opens a bubble that is going to be really totalitarian, and within there, one issue is patriarchy. I haven't read any text yet that comes close to any holistic understanding what happened when from hunter and gatherers, as societies living for hundreds of thousands of years, in a very special way, in a very special surroundings, of course. But they should have been able to throw this away within some thousands of years. This is something there is something I don't accept. I don't accept. There must have been some processes and developments going on, and until now nobody had the guts or had the clear view, or the the broadness of view to bring this up. And yeah. Anyway, so it's there are lots of interesting issues coming up everywhere. Pops up, and then what is typical for me is then first I just read some books, or read some newsletters, or web pages. But then comes the moment with this kind of, how you say, this kind of wanting to know, then I need to contact, I need to contact these persons, and sometimes nothing happens at all, when I contact. And here it's I think it's part of that culture that if kinship means anything, it's you get an answer, saying, at least, hang on for a moment. I don't have a lot of time, but I've sent you this and this. That's what they do now, and so this keeps me going. And I don't know if you had the time to go through the list of the holistic worldview already. It's I try to bring in all what I feel is important, to melt it in. And so it's I feel very much. I feel really happy that I have been somehow, you know, that this incredible work these two personalities did, brought me to do this again and again and again, and go further and further. So it's it's something that really means to me a lot.
I'd like to recommend that people that are watching this go to your website. Do you have a link for them, or maybe you can read it so they can see? Because I have read your material, which is really the best of all of these resources. Plus, it's your own stamp, and I know that it's going to continue to develop. Can we refer them to your website?
I mean, what we usually do is I put it into the video.
Okay, perfect.
Like the images of the books, and I put the websites in the end, list them down to that you can see them, and I put all these informations in. So and I'm still working on this, and I'm really quite keen about knowing what is going to happen when I send this to these two personalities, and I have no idea, but so this is how I do. I always a lot of my time I'm on my own, working on my own, researching and publishing books on my own. So this is my path. So
it's a beautiful path. It's a beautiful path. I want to mention something. We have a few minutes still to go. It came to me as I was reading those other two individuals' websites, but when I read yours as well, it brought me back to when I started graduate school almost 50 years ago. I studied, I took every elective course I could with two of the cultural anthropologists on the faculty. And so it was my introduction to worldview. For example, I had a course just called Worldview and Worldview Change, which was looking at the dynamics of what goes into a worldview. I've been quite fascinated by this all my years. I've operated as a clinical psychologist in my career, but I've often thought that I'm probably more of a cultural anthropologist in terms of the work I do. I think about things in terms of worldview more than I think about them in terms of individual psychopathology. Although there's value to that, it's almost always seen within a cultural matrix for me. So I was very influenced by these two faculty. I continue to read their works because they were both prolific in writing. And it was what occurred to me since the last time we talked, Thomas, is that it was part of the appeal for me early on of the integral theorist Ken Wilber. I started graduate school in 1979, right at the same time that he published his first book, The Spectrum of Consciousness. And I just read every book of his as they came out. Eventually, like for you with these two individuals, I corresponded with Ken in terms of my own doctoral dissertation. He was very instrumental in my dissertation. Ken Wilber's theories are right at the root of this. Now, this is back in the early 1980s, and obviously there's a lot that's developed over all the years. But what occurs to me is that the worldview that you're speaking of, and the kinship worldview, there are ways that reminds me, and not. I'm going to use your way of making distinctions. There's a way that it reminds me, Ken Wilber refers to spiral dynamics, and that how we move from an individualistic model, which he's given the color orange, into a more holistic view, which is given the color green. There's a way that in some ways there's a parallel, but I think there's a difference, and I wanted to run this by you. In fact, it doesn't take me too long to find it. Give me 1 second here. I wasn't planning to talk about this, but Ken Wilber had an ongoing debate going as an academic with another as a philosopher in the United States whose name was Michael Washburn. And so as I was teaching in the university myself, I would require students to read Ken Wilber and Michael Washburn. Michael Washburn, his critique of Ken Wilber is that things moved always upward, and that he wasn't sure that Ken Wilber would embrace a more indigenous worldview, because Ken, in some of his writings, comes across as looking at that. He has a term that's not a compliment. He refers to it sometimes as retro romanticism, where it's a regression to, I want to be fair to Ken here, but it would be kind of a regression to more primitive ways of understanding. And Michael Washburn really challenged that. I want to hold up a book. This is, Michael Washburn's written 4 books. This is the 3rd of the 4th. The title says it all. This is by Michael Washburn. And the title is Embodied Spirituality in a Sacred World. It's profoundly related to an indigenous worldview, it seems like to me. Now, Ken Wilber is very, very intelligent, and he basically sliced and diced Michael Washburn's counter-argument. But I think what Michael Washburn was doing, and it occurred to me only in reading the websites and your material, is our circling back and integrating what we've lost. And Michael Washburn speaks to that better. Ken is always progressing forward into more, bigger and bigger circles and so on. And I think there's great value. I had great value in that. But at the end of the day, I think that you need a corrective, and I think Michael Washburn provides that, is that with all the advantages of all the progress that we've made, let's say in the Western world, we're obviously completely mad. I liked your using that term. There's got to be a corrective. Now, I think Four Arrows and Darcia Narvaez and I think Thomas Rüedi, I think that all of you are providing a different language that helps correct things. It's not about rejecting the West, but it's about embracing an indigenous, sustainable worldview. And so I just wanted to mention that in terms of worldview, it hews very closely to what I've been immersed in for the last 40 years, which has been integral theory, Ken Wilber's work, but also Michael Washburn. And so if I had more time, right now, all of my writing, I've got 5 book projects, and all of them are related to addiction and recovery. I even look at addiction and recovery in a worldview perspective, though, very much related to what we read earlier from Darcia Narvaez. No, it's actually from Four Arrows website, and it's embodied in your work, is that what happens when you get a worldview that's out of balance with nature and with one another is you get addiction, you get psychopathology. And so that's been the focus of my writing. At some point, I'd like to come up for air and look at what you're writing and connect it to both of us have an interest in Ken Wilber's work, but look at worldview from a perspective of maybe providing maybe a corrective to some of the areas, at least I think that Michael Washburn is saying, that Ken Wilber might have missed a couple of turns along the way.
Maybe you remember in my book, 3 Steps into Oneness, I'm saying there is a bottom-up and a top-down development. And this is my critique, and you find it in holistic worldview also, because I'm saying that, of course, this bottom-up development is very interesting and very important too. But I think what I can see and experience within these indigenous materials is they definitely talk about the top-down development too. And this is another issue I haven't really understood yet about this Navajo legend about talking about Father Heaven and Mother Earth. This is something it will definitely crash our session But as this is something very typical for me too. I'm just my mind is trained by Tibetan Buddhist Dzogchen, and
yes.
which it's be said that you sharpen a sword until it's not there anymore.
Mm.
This is the picture.
It's beautiful.
You just stay on it, and it always goes deeper. It's opening up another level, and that's what I'm trying to bring in here also. So that's why mostly I can see very impressive things like integral work, or these projects and works these two personalities do, and still there are things I need to stay there and do some. From my view, I need to do some corrections, into a holistic view. Then,
Yeah. I think it's fantastic. I love this about you, Thomas, is that you have a mind that we have a phrase in English. We probably inherited it from the German language, of like the dog that won't let go of the bone. It's like you're a dog that won't let go of a bone. If something comes up and it's missing, you'll pursue it to the very end. And I love this about you. I think you've done it in all 4 of your books. I know it will be in this latest work. Is that you're revealing what's missing. In fact, thank you for reminding me of the top down versus the bottom up. You know that I read and studied your book. It makes me want to go back. It actually makes me hunger. I liked how you put it, that we would crash the session. If we had another hour, unfortunately, I have to scoot in just a minute. I'd want to explore the top down again, because this is the material you've written, so it's inside your heart and inside your mind, and you bring it to bear on everything that you write. So whatever you're working on next is informed by everything that you've done, and plus you're always doing new research. I look at all the books behind you, but I know how much you read, and that doesn't cover all the websites that you explore and all the trainings and all the correspondence. I think your middle name must be Due Diligence. you do everything to the nth degree. Anybody that doubts this, go to the reference section. For example, 3 Steps into Oneness. Your references and your footnotes are so incredibly rich. You've studied it to the furthest degree. You spent 24 years, I think you said, in that tradition. Well, it comes through in every page. And I know the same will happen with this book. That's why I mentioned earlier, I think that the authors of these other websites and their projects and so on, you'll join that community because of your own expertise. I'll look forward to seeing how you address these concerns. There'll be other ones that arise, because I know you. If something comes up as like a little, it gets your attention, you're like a dog with a bone. You're not going to let it go.
Yeah, I think this is the training. I think this is the Buddhist training, because this is another issue. Because anyway, it's too much. But what I wanted to say in the end is, I think elderhood is so important, because elderhood is the time where we really have the opportunity to realize top-down development, and where we as elders can help others to be with you in one of these experiences. They're sitting next to you, your driver, and he's next to you and saying, how the hell did you do this, and but he has the experience then.
Yeah.
So this is why I can't stop talking about the value of elderhood. So it cannot be put out. I mean, elderhood is a state of some individuals reach there, not many, and but it's a state of deepening in, and I think that's so beautifully written down in the book of Shachter-Shalomi Miller. We have been talking about many times already, and so that's why, I will. That's why I brought this elderhood issue on several points in my holistic worldview too. And
I want to finish with a quick image. It just came to me spontaneously listening to you. In the last 2 weeks, I've gone to a local Episcopal church. I haven't gone to church in 40 years, really voluntarily. I've had a very difficult time with conventional church attendance. But I found a local church, and I just want to cut to the chase, as two things come to mind. One is the very first time that I went to a church service, which was a week ago, last Sunday, I noticed that in the congregation, 90% of the congregation was my age or older. 90%. There were only a few younger people. And I felt to myself, and it's a small church, I felt like this is perfect for me, because this is a church potentially of elders, people that would appreciate elderhood. And I've come to see, I went again yesterday, which was Easter Sunday. I want to mention this final image is that when I left the congregation yesterday and I was walking out, the priest whom I had met the week before, he was shaking people's hands. He actually embraced me. He's about 10 years younger than I, maybe a little bit more younger than that. He embraced me, and I think what he was embracing was the elder in me. And I don't think that's mistaken. I think that because we'd had some interactions, we wrote each other, like you wrote your friends, we corresponded, and he says he wants to get to know me better. And I don't feel like he's recruiting me to become a church member. In fact, that's not what it's about at all. He's recognizing something, and he would do the same with you, Thomas. He would do the same with you. He would recognize that. And so there's a value. And I realize only right now listening to you that what draws me to this particular congregation, because I've tried a few different churches and none of it really works for me, is the fact that there might be a respect and a valuing of elderhood there. I think that there is. Yesterday after the service, I interacted with a woman who's about 90 years old or so, and she had done the reading. And in the Episcopal Church, you have a ritual where you shake each other's hands. They call it passing the peace. She was in a couple of pews ahead of me, and I reached to shake her hand. I don't really like doing this, but I did it. She looked at me and she says, "I know you. I've met you before. And between you and me, Tomas, she's not. We've never met each other before. But I think what she was recognizing is what you're talking about today, which is elderhood. I think that's what she meant. That's how I take that. And there's nothing in me that corrected her. I said, thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to meet you."
I think what met there is personified elderhood, lived and struggled and deepened in. Development in elderhood. I think the ones they will feel from the other one, but the ones they not yet do and value, they will hug you.
I like that very much. I like both of the things that you said. I'll report in the next time that we meet of how this is going, but I feel like it's really owing to our conversation today. I feel like I want to go back, but I feel like I'm clear about what that is for me. It's something about embracing and inhabiting elderhood. And if this is an opportunity, time will tell. Time will tell. Our relationship is very sustaining to me because of the valuing that we both hold at the center of our relationship is elderhood. And it's possible that this might be another location where that could be nurtured. I even had the fantasy as you were talking of having you come and speak to this congregation on elderhood. That it just came as a passing fantasy, but it wouldn't have come if I didn't feel that strongly with you, and if I didn't feel some inkling that this would be a group that would appreciate your message. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
Thomas, do you want to conclude? Do you want to finish off for our audience? Anything you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, thank you being with us. You can see we just exchange freely, so it's just something that flows. This is what we call a knowing field, you know.
Yes, I love that term.
Because it opens something that you don't have to look for words or look for meaning, because it's there. So I think there is wisdom or truth is looking for spaces to express itself, and that's what I really feel appreciated, especially in these times where I feel quite alone, you know, around in my world. It's nice to experience this and to know why I do it, you know.
Thank you. I say amen to that. I second everything that you just said, Thomas. I feel the same with you. It's no accident that we found each other and value each other and have created together this series of videos that we've done, these podcasts. And it's no accident that I'm attracted to a congregation of elders. I feel so alone most of the time. I don't in my work. I work with clients. I just continue to provide counseling. And many of my clients are younger and they're coming to me for elderhood, as we've spoken of. And some of my clients are older than me and they're still coming to me for elderhood. So I feel very grateful for that. But outside of my work, relationships like ours are extremely rare and precious to me, Thomas. So thank you for making this possible. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
So thank you, everybody listening. And I mean, as you might feel, this is going to go on, you know.
Yes.
Because we can't stop. It's impossible. It's probably we are going to continue after our death too, you know.
I think so. Let's definitely plan on that.
Separate channel then, you know.
I must go right now. I have to say goodbye to you, Thomas, and to our audience, but thank you all for joining us. And we will be back on this side of death and on the other side, okay?
Yeah.
All right.